Thanks everyone for sticking around. We have some very special guests with us. Let's bring out our filmmakers for the Q&A.
Hello.
Hi. See you. Let's go around each one by one, and you can introduce yourself, tell us which film you were involved with, and tell us your roles.
My name is Maxime Beauchamp. I'm a bilingual writer-director, normally from Eastern Ontario and now based in Vancouver. And I was privileged to direct Watershed and produce her.
Hi, I'm Jaime Leigh Gianopoulos.
I'm Cláudio Cruz.
And we're the directors of the short documentary, What About Our Future? And yeah, we were involved in many different roles in the film. We shot it, edited it, and directed.
Hello, I'm Kathryn Bons, and I directed Plugged In and also edited this version.
Hi, I'm Varsha, and my film is Bleed With Me, and I directed it, edited it, and except for the music, I was involved with every part of it.
And now for the Q&A, I'm going to bring you in each one-on-one to chat and tell us a little bit more about your personal filmmaking process.
So this film was an original idea by Camille Hollett-French, which was thought of about a year and a half or 2 years ago. And then we worked with Andrew McEvoy to write the film, who was our instructor when we were in film school, which is great to now work with him as a collaborator. And I think my favorite part of the films is that in the past, most of the work that I directed, I wrote myself, but this one was written by somebody else. And it was really great to find the story together, try things, and really see how we can bounce off each other to get to the nature of these characters. So I think it was one of the best part of this whole process is the collaboration and the development.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I presume you filmed all of this last year. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like? Any surprises or challenges that you faced along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. So we filmed in November 2019, so it wasn't during COVID or anything. So we were good with that. We were in the traditional way that we learned to film, that we didn't change yet, but we still had our challenges. Part of it is that it is a post-apocalyptic world with almost no population, and we were filming in downtown Vancouver and other Vancouver areas. It was really tricky to find these small windows of, okay, what we're going to have to composite out to make it look more like our world. So I think in the end, we got to what we needed and we really created that world. But it was nice to find spots and transform Vancouver into something else.
Were there any was there anything that in hindsight you really loved about the film, or maybe some things perhaps that you would do differently, or advice to filmmakers?
Absolutely. There's two things. There's one thing I love about the film is, personally, I come from a dance background, so a lot of the sound and music is very influenced in the tone and the rhythm of the film. So one of the things that I really love about the film is the soundtrack that Sean William did, which is composed of almost water sounds that are transformed, create this sound, which is really awesome. It's really great.
Super natural, and you feel really in it.
I'm glad you noticed. So that's one of the things that I love about the film. One thing that I could give as a comment, or that I learned myself, is certain scenes I wish I would have questioned a little bit more the motivations, so that I could maybe have found a location that adds a little bit more depth. Like, for example, our main character, she's at her wit's end. She has no more family in the beginning. She's really at the bottom of the barrel. And I think that we could have really, we have a really great opening, but I think we could have pushed it a little bit more. So having more of that questioning and prep would have really, really helped us. But in the end, we got something that I think is still very powerful.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, it was wonderful seeing how high the stakes were, and the choices that your lead character had to make. And just going back, I love what you said about the choices with the soundtrack, and how that really as an audience watching it, you really get a sense of the fear of the water the whole way through, and it's very percussive and musical, but it also really sets the tone and keeps the stakes really high throughout the film.
Yeah,
and,
I'm really happy it came out. I also edited the film, and the entire time, you know, you send it to people for comments and you're like, okay, does this come across? But this is a type of film that really came together in sound design and composing. Like even Justin from Craft Cave, who did the sound design, really added some depth to it. And I'm like, okay, now we have a film. Okay, we got something. We're good. You know?
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Any surprises or surprises during the process along the way, or anything else?
No, Watershed was a really great experience. I mean, it resembles maybe a little bit too much of the world we're in right now.
Yes, it's very topical. Watching it, I was struck by that.
Yeah, exactly. But just one thing I wanted to add too is in terms of because I noticed that Curse is also in the same program, which is a film I produced. So I just wanted it to pull attention to that one really quick and just showcase that these filmmakers that created Curse really came from them. It was kind of like an auteur film, and they haven't done a film since film school. So it's really them coming out of this. So I think it's a really great film to look at as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great to meet you both. Your brilliant film. I was really thinking about the process. I was struck by how much of it you both must have had to film sort of live during protests and marches, and sort of on location, and what was that process like? What were the challenges that you faced, and what can you tell us about your process?
Just to begin, like when we started the film, we started spending time with the youth, and we didn't bring our cameras around at the beginning. So we were just spending time, taking notes and observing and just building a relationship and trust. And then eventually we brought our cameras in and began. So we started shooting in, late August, and ended up shooting until the end of December. So we spent months just, documenting whatever moments they were open to have us join.
Yeah.
So it was a lot, but that was sort of our process of just slowly easing our way in.
Yeah, and we had the idea of like doing this film after attending one of the strikes here. We're really overwhelmed with the climate situation, and we're really frustrated, and we were seeing this like youth taking the streets and really like standing for the climate, and we went to one of the strikes to take some photos and fill it out, and we saw the leaders and we got really inspired by them, and we're like, we might have a really cool story here. What else is going on besides these strikes? So that's how it started.
That's wonderful to hear. Yeah, I was struck watching your film how inspiring it was to see such young people come together and feel so passionately and be so dedicated to this really important issue, and how wonderful it is that you made this film to share the wonderful work that they're doing in Vancouver. And can you tell us some of your favorite parts of that journey, and that contributed or happened during the process?
We spent like a lot of hours with them, so it was the editing of this film was really challenging, because like we started, like she mentioned, like we started with no cameras, just taking notes and getting familiar with them, and then we brought the cameras and we started like going to meetings, and on the beginning we had no idea on the depth of the organization, like how much effort they need to put into this. And it's just like huge, and they are like having like those 4-hour meetings and really, and they have like schedules, and they're like just on it and thinking about how to organize everything around the city, and with school lead trainings and everything. So it was really interesting. But I believe, like, at least for me, like the most interesting part was when they would like kind of like cool down a little bit from the practicity of everything, getting like so sharp with everything, and they would show like their silly side, or they would just like laugh together and and kind of like remember how young they are. Those moments, like, really, really beautiful to witness.
Yeah,
it was, and I think some of my favorite stuff was just even on a personal level, I felt like throughout making the film, we learned so much by spending time and observing. And I just notice how sometimes, you know, I hear certain adults say, you know, oh, the youth, they're always on their phones, or, oh, millennials are like this. And it was just incredible to see young people that had so much passion and just such a different level of perception when it came to looking at some of the things. I even remember at the beginning of the film, you know, we went for a coffee and I had a paper coffee cup and I was like, oh no, I can't. And they were making fun. They're like, oh, incrementalism is the new denialism. And I just thought it was really cool how they really broke down, you know, like left and right. And they really, they just were so passionate. And yeah, it really inspired me being around them. And yeah, I loved it.
That's wonderful. It was inspiring to see. And can you, just going back to what I said about what was it like when you were following the sustainability teams, when they were taking part in sort of active marches and protests? Were there any surprises that happened along the way, or happy accidents whilst you were following them in some of these environments and filming?
Yeah, so we didn't actually know that Greta Thunberg was going to be coming into town, so that was quite a surprise. And it was pretty cool because she DM'd the sustainability team, so we were behind the scenes with them, just seeing how excited they were to receive a DM from her, and also really aware that you know, that there's so many different voices within the movement, and they were always really conscious to make sure that, you know, we don't just continue to perpetuate celebrity culture where one person is the main focus. They're really about, you know, even within the organizing, just having things more horizontally shared. And so so that was cool. And then I guess, so at the protest that Greta came, it was a really hard scene to shoot because there was lots of people and we weren't allowed actually to get into the circle with the camera. So I managed to get in that moment. And then Rebecca and Naya took off and just bolted away. And luckily I saw them from the corner of my eye, so I chased them. And that's the scene at the end of the film where they're running through the protest.
Yeah.
And they run so fast. I was so out of breath. I was like trying to keep up. I tried to keep up as long as I could. It was like a couple of blocks or something. Then I was like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. And our sound guy was just running behind us and the labs were like cutting in and out. But he was able to, like, I guess, catch me for a block or two as well. So that was cool.
That's amazing. And is there anything else that you would like to share about your process or the message behind your film?
To don't give up, you know, like we can't give up. I know that can get overwhelming sometimes when we get to the statistics, but it's hard and will be hard. And, you know, we might face so many challenges, but we can't give up. Like, and the youth is showing us that, and they are like, you know, taking a stand and really like caring for what really matters. And I think if we start having conversations more, that's what is important. We need more people to know what's going on, know the how serious it is, and to act.
Yeah, and I think just to add to it, you know, one of the kind of main messages at the end of the film is just this idea of, at the beginning, it's like the entire foundational story of the youth climate movement was all about urgency and really shifting out of that and instead thinking about what is it on the other side that we want to build? What is it that we want to create? How can we, in our daily lives, as well as like within the systems, really bring justice to the forefront and really figure out the intersectionalities between so many different powerful movements that are happening right now around the world and that we really need. And all of these are connected to the climate. And so, yeah, I think just that redirection, I think, is really important, just to be like, okay, like, what is it that we want to build instead of, and how are we going to bring this justice forward?
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for both of you for sharing your very inspirational film with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
India.
You directed the fantastic film Plugged In. What can you tell us about the process of making your film? Is there anything specific that jumps out or that surprised you along the way during your process?
Yeah, that we finished it. It was a second year student film project, and so it did get filmed in 2018, but it wasn't until I think this summer that we finally got the post together and were able to complete it. So it took a while, but yeah, we got it there. That's the thing that I'm the happiest about, honestly, is that it's done and it's getting seen, which is exciting.
That's awesome. And yeah, I was really struck watching your film. It really just brings to light the dependency that the increasing dependency that humans sort of have on technology, and really makes you think, what direction is that going in? And yeah, our reliance, even down to relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the concept behind it, or research that you did, or anything that came up during the process?
Yeah. Well, I originally wanted to tell this story because I was seeing how insidious technology was in my own life, in my relationships and my connecting with other people. And I just want to say it's really interesting thinking about this film now, after we've all experienced 10 months of this kind of isolation that's kind of every day now because of the pandemic. So we're forced to reach out and connect with people via screens like this.
Yeah.
So it's normal. But back when I was thinking about this film and working with the writer, Crystal, I just couldn't believe how integrated technology had become and how normal that was for us to consider ourselves making friends or connections with other people through the internet or social media or whatever. That was just a normal thing. So I don't know. I'm always the person who's a little suspicious of technology and how integrated it is coming into our lives. So
yeah, that's a really interesting point you make about how it was before COVID something that people relied on, and that and I totally understand that was the basis for the film, for exploring that relationship. And now, because of COVID, we're being forced to use it as a method of communication.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether that's made us, I think, watching your film, it made me question that even more of, I'm being sort of forced to use technology during this time. What will that mean? And do I want to? But I still want to be able to chat to my parents and thing. But yeah, can you tell us about any challenges of the filmmaking process? I imagine the challenge of sort of writing and directing and conveying a person in the film versus an android, and everything surrounding that. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I really enjoyed kind of thinking about the android A71 and his character. And I had a lot of conversations with Brandon, the actor, who did a fantastic job bringing this android, who you would picture very robotic, and kind of bringing some sort of human elements to it. Yeah, that was really interesting to write or work with the writer on it. I just want to clarify, I didn't write it. Crystal did a great job. But I just wanted to make sure at the end we kind of forget that he's an android. So yes, we had limitations in the amount of time that we could film. So for Cap, we had a 7-minute limit, and obviously that extended a little bit with this cut. But at the end, I wanted the audience maybe to forget that he's a mechanical being, and as well Ashai to forget that he's a mechanical being. And now he's complete stand-in for a meaningful human relationship for her. So yeah, that was interesting trying to work with them both on set.
Yeah, and that's really interesting thinking about what makes us human, or what makes our relationships human or meaningful. Can you have meaningful relationships with technology? And brings in all the sort of ethics and the interesting conversations surrounding that.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, and definitely you get that. Well, to me, I definitely got a sense of that by the end, that I completely forgot that he was an android. And make each other happy. That's lovely. But still, all of these thoughts are bubbling over, so it's fascinating. Can you tell us about anything you would maybe do differently in hindsight, or some advice to filmmakers?
Well, as this was only my second year in film school, and honestly, I'm still very new to film. I'm learning so much every day. I think I would honestly say just trust the people you're making the film with, because I've told this to a few people, but I'm quite a control freak. I like to manage every aspect of the project, and it was really, really valuable forcing to back off and let other people just do their role, and it turned out great, and I don't know why I was worried. Yeah, but I worked with some amazing people who are just gonna be awesome filmmakers, so it was really great.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Kathryn.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
And now we have Varsha. Hi, you directed the film Bleed With Me.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So what can you tell us about the inspiration for your film that you, I know you wrote and produced and directed? Can you tell us a little bit about the process behind it, and how you came to make the film?
Yeah, absolutely. My film is my undergrad thesis from a liberal arts degree. And so I didn't go to film school, but I certainly had a dream to make a film. And so my inspiration for the film happened during a year that I was traveling in India, taking some time off from school. And I found myself at a conference in India where we were having a conversation about menstruation. And there was people of all genders there. And I found myself kind of struck and thinking, like, you know, I grew up in BC and go to a liberal arts college, and yet we don't have these conversations very openly at school and really anywhere. And so I came home and felt really inspired to initiate the conversations in my community. And so it really just began with a series of community interviews that were never really designed to be made into a film. There was kind of like this far off dream. And then eventually I realized, okay, I could maybe show the world what I'm doing by having these conversations, by creating a film that will reach a lot more people and encourage them to also have similar conversations. So yeah, that was my inspiration.
That's wonderful to hear. Yes, I wanted to ask about the people that you hear in your film that share their experiences or their thoughts on menstruation. Did that happen? Had you already sort of begun the process of writing or creating the film and then found people or reached out to people organically? Or I know you just said that you had interviews with people. Did you have those interviews first and then the film was born from those?
Totally. Yeah, it's really fascinating to listen to the other filmmakers in this panel, because my filmmaking process was so different, where I just put up an ad for community interviews and asked people if they were willing to share their perspectives and experiences of menstruation with me. And what followed was a process of listening to all the interviews, coding them, and thinking about the tidbits of each person's story that I wanted to pull from. And so there was hundreds of hours of interviews that I had to really cut down to this very short film. And then based on those words and stories and feelings, I wanted to bring them to life with visuals. And so after collaging the audio is when I began the filmmaking process.
Right. Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah, some of the interviews are beautiful and really struck me. One of the people in your film said that menstruation is a ceremony, and that really moved me. And I thought, what a wonderful movie, because it really highlights the fact that there is so much stigma surrounding menstruation, and it is the image of someone tucking a tampon in their sleeve. I was like, yeah, know that one, and how commonly that's the script surrounding menstruation. And it's if education earlier, if it was seen as a ceremony, and something beautiful that, you know, happens to so many people around the world, I feel like the world would be a much better place. So it's just
Totally.
to watch your film. Is there, and yeah, with the, you said that you collage the audio. I know there's some wonderful depictions of sort of like fruit and amazing images that you bring together. Did you, how did you come up with those? What was the process behind the visuals?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's so many artistic works that I've seen throughout my life that I'm sure just kind of like all culminated in my head as I thought about how I wanted to depict the audio. I think I'd seen some Instagram posts by an artist named Stephanie Sarli, which she does something like very clever with fruit and uses them to depict bodies. I'm a big fan of Sinda Aga. She's a New York Times filmmaker, and she had kind of used a similar style with colored backdrops. And so all of these things sort of came to my head, and I really wanted it to be very striking. And my intention was not to sanitize or abstractify the process of menstruation, but also recognizing that if I was to put bodies bleeding on screen, that it would really reduce the amount of people that would be willing to engage with this content. And so my intention is to be as inclusive to as many viewers as possible, and to encourage people to maybe, feel welcome to see this as maybe something striking and beautiful, kind of captivating. And so there's definitely lots of places that I've gotten inspiration. And a lot of it was just, it was done in my parents' basement. So what was available to me in my family home became my props.
Yeah. That's fantastic. That's wonderful to hear. Well, I think you definitely achieved that, as you say, about it being captivating, and the audio combined with the visual. It was just such a wonderful combination, and it was so great to hear so many people's experiences. Is there anything that you can tell us, any challenges during the process, or anything if you had the chance again, that you might like to do differently?
Yeah, I think I've briefly spoken about it, but that I interviewed 16 people in my community. So many friends and my mom participated in the interviews. And I certainly struggled to have male identifying people participate. And so in moving forward, I would love to have a greater representation of different voices. I think that me as a filmmaker creates some bias where people are talking to me about their experiences. They might feel as though they cannot express their most uncomfortable feelings about menstruation. And so I think that it's really important to address that there are some negative views about menstruation that exist, and people may have not felt comfortable to say those things to me in an interview. And then my greatest challenge was determining how I was going to cut out so many hours of interview footage and take little tidbits of each person's story. And so moving forward, I would love to, I plan to create a sequel on menopause. And then I would also just really love to dive back into those audio interviews and bring to life other stories that happened within this story, of people's very deep and nuanced experiences.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you very much. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us about the process of making your film?
I'd just love to say to people that are interested in making a film and have absolutely no background, and don't go to film school, that you can absolutely make a film. And there's so much available online to teach you what to do, and there's people like me to reach out to. So don't doubt yourself.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Varsha. It's great to see you, and thank you very much for your wonderful film.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here and for sharing your wonderful work. Let's give everyone a big last round of applause. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you all very much for joining us for our Q&A. We very much hope you enjoyed the film, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.